The following program is brought to you by Naleo TV, the People's Platform.
Aloha, I'm Ashley Kirkowitz, President and CEO of Naleo TV. Welcome to opening day of the 2025 Hawaiʻi State Legislature. Join us as we talk story with our Hawaiʻi Island delegation to understand what their priorities are for this session and how they are working hard to serve our island communities. Let's get into it.
The affordable housing crisis is a huge issue facing our state. Obviously, the cost of living is high. It's almost $1 million to own a home in Hawaii now, which is absolutely ridiculous. We've been working with Department of Hawaiian Homelands, putting in a lot of money for infrastructure for them to build out a lot of the projects throughout the state. And by doing this helps the most vulnerable population, Native Hawaiians, that need housing the most. So by putting money into DHHL, by advocating for them to build out homes, by taking people off the list, we're actually helping the housing crisis in Hawaii.
I think the big focus, which will be part of our majority package, is specifically on rental housing for the existing workforce. So it's simultaneously a workforce development and economic development driver, but also accounting for the fact that it's largely an underserved part of our community. It's people who make between 60 and 140% of AMI, which is basically within 60 and 140% of the average area income. So we really want to focus on providing affordable rentals within that category, in addition to all of the other numerous benefits that are provided for folks who are under 60% AMI, and a lot of our projects that are kind of coming on board through the Department of Hawaiian Homelands.
Specifically when it comes to housing, we heard Senate President talk about the $250 million commitment that came out of the governor's office. We have to invest more. Back in the 80s, we had over 30,000 vacant housing units, whether it be apartments or whatever, in our state. Now we could easily use 30,000 more right now. And so what we're going to have to do is we have to commit resource, and then we also have to get county approval processes streamlined. One of the things that we faced was having this problem of getting 201H built because it's hitting a logjam. I'm working on legislation that will give a timeline for the housing agency to either pass it or it circumvents them and it goes straight to council.
We've heard from the governor. He's really packed the budget with a lot of money for housing and all kinds of housing from all the spectrums. Lucky enough, I do sit on the Committee for Health as vice chair. And when it comes to housing and where health intersects with that, it really is our individual wastewater systems along with the connectivity to our sewers. So I'll be definitely looking out at how that intersection can get smoothed out so that we can actually realize the type of housing that everybody desperately needs.
Hawaii has a mandate by 2050 to convert off of our cesspools, and I've been working on this for a lot of years. The challenge is that it's costly and there's not a lot of alternatives. So we are working on bills that would fund piloting new technology and trying to come up with some of those alternative solutions so that people have a choice besides just going from cesspool to septic.
For me personally and Hawaii Island, what's really important is to help our wastewater branch expand, and those people who have individual wastewater systems who are too far away for any expansion hopes, that we assist them as well and maybe look at any flexibility or alternatives out there, because we have the majority of individual wastewater systems, cesspools on our island, and so we really hope to address that.
And one of the things that we do know is our firefighters on our island are the best in the state. They know what they do when we're talking about fighting wildfire. Fire that you're referring to is the Pu'ukapu fire that started on the Hawaiian Homelands and ended up burning almost 50,000 acres 2.5 years ago now. What we can do better is to have better response and better response time. And again, big shout out to our firefighters, yes, but also the military. Without Pohakaloa, we would have really been impacted. And our state firefighters through Department of Land and Natural Resources. All of that ties together. But what can we do better? Well, I've been in conversations with about improving our overall management team. We have to put a fire marshal into that. And this is something I've worked with our Chief Todd about that. It was to fund a fire chief and a little bit of staff to set up the program so we know the direction we're going. We don't know what we need to do for fire marshals. We grab a chief that does know. If we have that chief, then they direct us, then we fund it. So that works on the fire side. But when we're talking emergencies as a whole, we have hurricanes we can talk about, tsunamis we can talk about. And again, we need that county, state, federal, and the back and forth that goes in there. We need to build more facilities on the Big Island. There's an initiative in the Waimea right now to build a hurricane, well, can't say proof, but a hurricane resistant shelter. So we don't have that on the Big Island. Something Senate President pointed out today, we also deal with volcanoes. So we have to have the infrastructure in place that we can actually respond to the needs of the people while we're figuring out how we're going to rebuild things.
A lot of times the state and the county have to play that initial funding, funder, I guess, prior to federal aid money coming in. So that's part of it. Beyond that, we need to make sure that we have adequate state planning and planning in place and resources in place to support our counties. And that's been a missing piece to a large degree. So there is going to be a bill on the table to kind of restructure emergency management within our state and bring things within better alignment with federal guidelines to make sure our counties and our state are all speaking the same language. Because really, unlike a coastal state on the West Coast, as an example, we really can't rely on other states to provide aid. We need to be able to leverage every resources we have here in Hawaii, which includes all 4 counties, our state, our military assets. And unless we have a unified command and a state fire marshal in place, it is really difficult to handle these large-scale disasters, which we're anticipating more of going forward.
I'm so glad we're talking about emergency response. I think one of the things that we saw even in one of the most recent volcanic eruptions in my district, there were parents who were very frustrated that none of them got any calls or received any messages about if school was open or if it wasn't open. And we know that when we come to a disaster, we want people to be able to know exactly what's happening, where are the resources, what are the pinch points that are not working. So we're trying to work on strengthening those opportunities for communication, specifically within the DOE, so that parents are going to get those automatic responses. They're going to know and be up to date so that they can keep their keiki safe.
We're very fortunate that we have a great councilwoman in Puna who has really helped push some of the resiliency efforts that we have. And her work has really gave us a good foundation of what we need to do and prepare for regarding when a disaster happens. I believe I've gone through 2 lava flows, 1 tropical storm, and we all gone through COVID. And what the councilwoman has established is a good collaboration with different entities in Puna and as well with government to ensure that when a disaster does happen, we have a plan and we have people that we can connect to and reach out and work together to get out of that and recover faster.
Access to healthcare is one of the most important things that our state faces. I think especially true for Hawaii Island, where it's so rural. It takes such a long time to get to the hospitals, to the different clinics. And I think this is one of the most important things, especially for the district that I represent, Kona, Kau, and Volcano. We have Kau Hospital, we have Kona Hospital, 2 very important hospitals that help our people. So for myself, advocating for our hospitals on Hawaii Island is going to be one of the most important things that I'm going to be advocating for this session, including the rest of the state and all the access to healthcare throughout the state.
I was super pleased and super jazzed about what Hope Services has done in leveraging what I gave them the seed for 2 years ago, was asking Hilo Medical Center to provide behavioral health beds, because we have no behavioral health beds in the entire island. So they came up with 9 behavioral health beds. They partnered with Hope Services, and now we have 9 through Hilo Benioff Medical Center. And in addition to that, because they found a model for the first time in the entire state, okay? And I gotta give kudos to Brandy Menuino, who's out there and right there, as well as Ohana Plans. They partnered with a health insurance plan to create at least 6 and another 5 more, right? 11 more behavioral health beds for East Hawaii. We've got Aloha Care wanting to know what the model is. We've got HMSA. I am tasking them to see whether or not they can match what Ohana Health Plans has done, because by doing that, we can actually help decrease the amount of homeless, behaviorally health challenged people.
I think as a mom, seeing what the cost of childcare really is and the toll that it takes on a family, especially someone that lives in an Alice family. My partner and I, we both have really good jobs, but it's still such a struggle at the end of the day to make ends meet. And I know that so many families across our state, specifically on Hawaiʻi Island and in district, are struggling with those same issues. So one of the things that we're trying to work on is creating a child tax credit, similar to what we saw during the pandemic with that federal relief, where families got a direct payment if you have keiki, making sure that we can do something similar here on the state level. We want to put money right into the pockets of families that are in need. Alongside that, we are working on expanding access to childcare, making sure that all 3- and 4-year-olds have access, and that it's not going to break the bank to affordable preschool that's quality, where your child can get the opportunity to learn, hopefully right next door and not very far away. And then we're also working on things like paid family leave. I'm the co-convener for the state of Hawaii's Working Families Caucus. So we work on issues like paid sick and family leave, along with anti-rent gouging. But we want to make sure that families, if you do have hardship, that you can take the time off that you need to be with your family to heal and then to get better.
During my time here, the legislators in the House have been largely unified on a vision for Banyan Drive. Some elements of that are possibly turning over management to a different entity away from the Department of Land and Natural Resources. Regardless of whether it's DLNR staying in charge or another part of the state, I think the idea is to start a community-driven master planning process to capture some of the revenue that is currently being generated by Banyan Drive leases and redirect it into the area so that it's not just extracted out of Hilo and dedicated elsewhere. And also just make sure that we can try our best to accommodate the numerous public benefits and uses of that area, which would require restoring some culturally sensitive areas and practices, potentially addressing some housing and economic development through some light commercial. We added hotel space because that's really a burden, especially come Merry Monarch time of year. And then more importantly, and kind of overarching, we need a long-term plan for sea level rise for Banyan Drive. The current map suggests that the current Naniloa golf course area is the future of that area because everything else is likely to be inundated within the next 40 to 50 years. And that can't happen without kind of restructuring that management authority and beginning that process.
I was able to reach out to our new chair and trustee over at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, along with Hawaii Tourism Agency, and we were able to sit down with Hawaii Community Development Authority. And by divine wisdom, Mark left behind $1 million for some planning and design. That money is sitting with our Department of Economic Development and Tourism. And so this year I'm going to have a bill that will carve out Waikea Peninsula and nicely park them under Hawaii Community Development Agency. And then that way we could actually streamline the money. It's $1 million. And then reconvene not only our trustee over at Hawaiian Affairs, but our Banyan Drive Redevelopment Agency, and just love to see the synergies and the ideas that we can come up with.
Two things just jump out in front of me. First is working with the DLNR and other state agencies to ensure that the lease process in our Kanoʻi-Lehua industrial area and the Waikea Peninsula, often called Banyan Drive Peninsula, is addressed. It took an emergency order from Governor Green to finally bring to an end a long scar on our economic engine of tourism there. And I hope that that was the warning shot that really will help us achieve making something that's much more business friendly. That's our jobs, our small business, that's our people, that's our generational wealth in our county. So that's one. I also hope to help the Mauna Kea Authority move forward in a timely manner. They have 41 months. We need astronomy. We need to balance it with the cultural aspects of the mountain, the environmental aspects, and I think a lot of attention is being paid to that, but we just need to support the Mauna Kea Authority to make sure they meet all of their needs.
I think a big focus for this upcoming year is going to be around biosecurity, which is a twofold thing. It's protecting local residents, local species, local areas, sensitive native species from those invasives, but also our homes, but also protecting the industry and making sure that it's easier for our local agricultural businesses and local farmers not only to grow and distribute without that added cost of having to constantly treat their farms, but also makes it easier for them to sell for federal compliance reasons.
I'm all about agriculture. To build agriculture, we have to build everything at the same time: production, value-added, transportation. And so working on that, and I'm have a lot of efforts and initiatives going forward to address that. A big overarching thing right now, and we know why, is the agricultural crime. And I'm pushing and working very hard to increase the penalties on agricultural theft, vandalism, but also trespass.
But for this year, from our town halls, the three top issue relates to infrastructure. And the top most voted issue is the alternate route. We want to push more for alternative access into Puna because there's only one way in and out of Puna. So having that access will be great. The other second most important issue that was voiced out to me is going to be the congestion on Highway 130. Traffic has been causing a lot of delays, and we want to ensure that we have more of a capacity onto the highway and lower that congestion. And third, for the first time ever, two issues became a tie for third place. And the first of those two issues is actually in homeowners insurance due to what happened with the lava flow. Insurance prices for policies and premiums have gotten up. And the second is reopening Puhiki boat ramp. So we are moving forward with that project, and hopefully we can get the boat ramp dredged and open by this year.
But now it's the challenge of Route 11 because you've got two lanes coming in from Mauka Puna coming into Hilo. You've got two lanes coming in from Highway 130 coming into. So 4 lanes merging into 2 lanes right there at the Keao bypass. So the idea is to get a contraflow study for that area because you and I, we commute between Hilo and Puna, right? We know it is humbug, and some people kind of get dangerous, especially when they want to make the left turn into Kitimana at a time when you need to get running to Hilo, that it needs to be done. And I'm hoping that sooner rather than later.
Sure, my colleague, Matthias Kush, we have a lot of deferred maintenance on a lot of projects. Schools, state buildings, you name it. He and I both sit on the Committee on Finance, so we're working really hard to identify real key CIP projects that have a big circle of impact. We also truly enjoy working with Ed Sniffen over at the Department of Transportation. He has a lot of money and special monies that come from special sources that aren't general fund related. And so hopefully we can dovetail those kinds of money with CIP projects and really see the transformation at our airports.
I want more funds for the schools. We have like a really weird CIP situation this year where like no one has, like there's not a lot of asks for the first time in 12 years. Our schools, of course, I think Neighbor Island schools have always not really gotten equal funding to a lot of Oahu schools, and just continuing to build up facilities at our schools in Kona especially, I think is really important. For athletic facilities, things like a performing arts center, and then just the basics, like Kealakehe High School needs to be painted.
We do have lots of bridges and road work that will continue to happen. I'm focusing some capital improvement project monies on our schools up in Honokaa. I have meetings with Hilo High and Laupohoihoi Charter School. So, we hope to assist with that. And I think the other thing that's important to know is that there's 8 House of Representatives on Hawaii Island, and we're very close. We text all the time, we communicate all the time, we're very supportive. So the needs of Sue next door, Sue Leloy, and Chris Todd after that, Gregor, we're all tied into kind of East Hawaii. We represent all of East Hawaii. So it's really important that we work in concert, and I think that you'll see that.
This year, I am chairing Economic Development and Technology. And really, I have 3 priorities that I'm focused on in that field. The first is we're aware the different commercial development has been going through some permitting issues. The cost of delays has been enormous, especially for the small business. They don't have that much funding to be able to keep up with the delays that's causing in the permitting area. Second is I want to ensure that we develop more entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are the ones who create those businesses and provide those jobs, and we also want to make sure they're high quality jobs as well. And third, we have a potential to invest more into Hawaii. Why aren't we reaching out to different places in the mainland? And also we can go into different countries like Japan, and even my home country like the Philippines. But anyone who wants to invest into Hawaii, let's figure out how we can do that by ensure that we keep our quality of life and protect our environment and have a win-win for everyone here.
I chair the Committee on Energy and Environmental Protection, so I work on those issues a lot. And one thing we've come to realize with our transition to renewable energy is we still really have a need for firm power. And one opportunity in Hawaii is geothermal. And the benefit of that, of course, is that it's a local source of power and could be cheap and renewable. And there's a lot of work to do with communities, I think, to make sure everyone's on board. But I've really been working to try to get more funding to figure out where we have geothermal resources and if they can be further developed. And I think if we're successful in doing that, it could just open up all kinds of opportunities, because the cost of electricity in Hawaii is such a prohibitive factor for so many kinds of businesses, for manufacturing, for all kinds of things. So if we were able to expand on our geothermal resources, it's kind of like our superpower.
It's a privilege to be the new chair for the Committee on Culture and Arts. We're going to be doing a number of different things alongside really growing some of the work that we've done through this past year through FestPac, bringing together Hawaii with our many Polynesian brothers and sisters across the Pacific, strengthening those ties, and then really diving into performing arts and culture here in our communities. Specifically, I want to work on uplifting our film industry. This is an economic driver that is so necessary and beneficial here in our communities. We know that we have incredible indie filmmakers across our state. So being able to get them the money that they need to grow and then really thrive here in our state. We don't want people to leave Hawaii because they can't afford to make their film here, or it's too expensive to rent the equipment or to have a soundstage. We want all of those things here in Hawaii. We want Hawaii to be the new New Zealand of film. So we're doing some of those things. We're also working with the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts. We're going to be uplifting art at the Capitol, the art in public places, which you're seeing, the art behind me. And if you've been through any of the other state buildings or any of the offices here at the state capitol, we have beautiful artwork, all provided by our state archive. So really expanding that and really trying to dive into more Native Hawaiian artists, uplifting them and getting their art into our state collection so that it can be shared in our public schools. And then finally, that leads me to one of the most important points, is making sure that we are increasing access to arts in our public schools. We want all students across the state to be able to have access to that. And to be able to have access to something that uplifts them and uplifts all of our community.
Thing I love most about the Big Island is the people and the Aina. We have so many unique places, so many unique communities, and it's just awesome to be from the Big Island, from Kona, 12, 13 generations in Kona. So it's just an amazing place to live, an amazing place to call home.
Probably the people, it's great. We have such a wide mix and even eclectic people. I kind of love the grit of some people, the shininess of others, and I really like a big menagerie of personalities, and Big Island checks that box. Hawaii Island really does do a good job checking that box.
I love the people because, look, we've got those innovative ideas. We have to do more with less on Hawaii Island. We're more innovative, and we could see that with what's happened with what Brandy has done and what you have done back when in 2018. So innovation, and I see it far more on the Big Island than I see it here in Honolulu, and I hope that that keeps coming through.
What I love most about Hawaii Island is its wide open spaces. That's one of the challenges I got living here in Honolulu. I love the fact that we're able to work together, again, county, state, and figure things out, but I miss the wide open spaces. And it reminds me of that when I look at some of the pictures I have in the office here, and it's on purpose that this office is open. There's, again, wide open spaces. But with those wide open spaces, that's opportunity. We have space for housing. We have space for agriculture. We have space for building a future. And so that's what I like to do about the Big Island.
I gotta say, I love you, Ashley Kirkowitz. But really, and I say this all the time, we have an amazing Hawaii Island delegation. We truly, truly love each other and support one another. And I think this year we have a lot of us in key seats, whether it's the Committee on Economic Development, our Kona family with Department of Ag, or us, on finance or Department of Health. And we also run the range of ages and time in the legislature. So what I really love about the Big Island is just that we have a network of family and friends really ready to roll up our sleeves and get it done.
I love Big Island. I love the space, and I love the access to nature that we have there. It's really not as crowded, not as much traffic. So that's my favorite part.
I always look forward to coming back home for a number of reasons. I don't see my family enough, and that's part of it, and that's always a good time. But it feels different. I immediately feel like I can exhale when I get off the plane, the pace of life, the beauty of our natural environment around us. But also, especially, where I call home in Hilo, which is where I've always been my entire life. I just love being able to go to the grocery store and seeing people that I've really known my entire life, my parents their entire lives, and that's a very special thing that it feels like we can take for granted. And in a lot of our state, we're actively losing that. So I'm really thankful that we still have that in certain parts of our state, and hopefully we can take more steps to preserve some of it.
What I love most about the Big Island, after coming to Oahu for the last 4 years, is that I get to go back and relax. And Oahu has this fast pace. It really drains all someone's energy. But when I go back to the Big Island, I get to replenish that energy. So that's my favorite part of the Big Island, is I get to go back to my rural community and really relax and enjoy the lifestyle that we have there in Puna.
More than anything, Big Island is home. For me, I grew up in South Kona. When I come around the corner and I pass Minago, there's this beautiful outlook where you can see all of Kealakekua Bay and see Minago Hotel, and for me, it reminds me of being home. As my district has now grown, it encompasses all of Naʻalehu. I get that same feeling when I take the corner and I drive just out of Naʻalehu town, and you get to see how beautiful our community is. It's not only breathtakingly gorgeous, but I think the most beautiful thing is the ability for people to connect in our district. There's a love and an aloha that exists on Hawaii Island that you don't see anywhere else in the state. I want to be able to keep that and keep the footprint of our community, and that means that we have to make sure that we're keeping our local residents here at home. So doing whatever we can to make that happen is what I'm here to do.
And that concludes our special event coverage for Opening Day 2025. The air here at the Capitol is electric. Folks are so optimistic about what we can do when we work together. Shout out to all of our Hawaii Island delegation for talking story with us. Special thanks to our Naleo TV crew, David Alvarez, Chris Pereño, and Jasmine Gardner for covering today's event. I'm Ashley Kirkowitz. Mahalo nui and stay engaged. Aloha.